friends. So this week we are beginning our work on the final project. So I want to just walk through the final project, just the overview very quickly with you to think about where we're headed, and then we're going to get into Module 2. So as you have read about, you're going to create, in fact it's very nicely put here, right, a proposal for a creator's residency at your cultural institution. So this is a number of things, a number of skills that are really essential for any workplace. The idea of crafting a proposal that fulfills specific guidelines is something that you'll do a lot, especially if you're looking for funding or if you're out in the world trying to market yourself and your skills to other people. So let's think about this. So the first thing that you're going to do this week is choose your creator. We're going to talk about that in the discussion board, which is a great place to get some ideas from your peers and from me about which of it, whether or not you've thought about all the areas that you need to with your creator, maybe some things that can even push your thinking a little bit further. And then we're going to move into this step of describing the creator and giving an overview of their creative work. Now, the next step is going to be how describing the creative work relates to some themes, and we're going to then describe an aspect of culture conveyed by that work. Now, you've seen this little chart before, and we've talked about this idea of starting with this base level, moving up into these higher levels of thinking. One of the things about this project is you're going to get very, very high to the evaluate stage. So I just want to go through that really quickly. You're describing the creator and giving an overview of their creative work. You're going to be in this area very, very heavily. Because what you're doing is you're giving the person who's reading it the context they need to get you up here when we get there later on in the project. So you're basically setting the stage this week, giving us the creator that you want to focus on and thinking about how that goes. You're then going to head into here, analyze what they've done, and evaluate its effectiveness to your project. And then describing an aspect of culture is very much at this very high level of evaluation. But here's the thing about a pyramid, right? If we don't get this base done really well, then moving up is going to be really tough. So that's why we need to get you on the right track for Module 2. Okay. So here's what we're doing. You're going to pick a creator. Now, some of you would like to go off of the project resources document. So let's go down here and think about this. There's a great list of resources that's included in this assignment. And if you go through, you can find all sorts of contemporary folk, right? In the performing arts, contemporary artists, past creators, there are lots and lots to choose from. And it's just really easy to jump in there with those. But some of you may have creators that are really important to you. We've seen that in our course already. If that's true, I need you to shoot me an email. Because one of the reasons, not because I'm on a power trip, but because I want to make sure that your creator is going to fulfill all of these project requirements, right? And because I know a little bit, I can see a little bit further ahead than you, I would very, very happily evaluate that quickly to make sure that you're on the path to success. So if you don't want to use one of those creators, just shoot me an email. Okay, now, you're also going to be including a citation in your paper. Part of this is about you going into the world and finding really great resources having to do with your creator. Now, that project resources list has research starters. So that's actually an easy way of jumping into that. And you're going to be using APA citation or a citation measure of your choice. But I do want you to remain really consistent with your citations. So if you're going to use something that applies to your discipline specifically, I'm a theater and virtual media researcher, so I use Chicago citations. If you need to use a citation method, please let me know that so that I can help you do that. Okay, let's get into the project. So the first thing that you're going to do is describe the cultural values and perspectives that have influenced the creator. So this is where the digging comes in, right? You know, who is the creator is not just telling me their name, right? but telling me a little bit about them. Where did they grow up? What was their family like? What are some of the things that they are interested in, and why? What's in their background that led them to that? Is it, if they grew up in the South, do we see a Southern influence in their work? If they grew up someplace else in the world, but they came here, do we see that influence? The other thing about thinking about that creator is, once we've established the time, how does society relate to that? And what are some of the unique things about that author that we can see in their creative works? Now, you'll notice that we're actually getting up here. We not only talk about what that is, some of those facts and figures that we then explain to folks, but then we're coming up here to analyze, right? And to apply as well, because we're interpreting information and then drawing connections. So what I'm looking for is you giving me those ideas and then weaving them together. That's something called synthesis, taking two ideas, like the time a person was born and how it affected their creative work. That is high-level analysis. So we're thinking in much higher levels here, right? So think about this triangle every time. Make sure that you're actually adding these layers as you get into that, right? If you haven't given me all the information, your pyramid is going to crumble, right? Okay, now the next thing is, you're going to think about yourself. This is self-reflection. So you're thinking and analyzing, again, this very high level, right, how you relate to the creator. So I, for example, I am a Floridian, born and raised. So I moved to Minnesota when I was in middle school. It was snowing. I did not like it. Okay, now when I read Pearl S. Buck's work, which in a couple of circumstances really talks about snow, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Because I have I really don't like snow. I'm a Floridian. I need the beach. I need sunshine. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? So these connections then affect the way I look at her work. Now, you're going to have your own cultural values and perspectives. It may be opposite of the creator. It may be something that parallels the creator's life. That's what you're looking for in this particular section, right? It's not just connections, it's missed connections as well. It could be that they're so opposite that you connect to it because it's opposite, if that makes some sense. So you're looking for that, so you're just reflecting. Self-reflection, by the way, is one of the soft skills that workplaces look for, because it means that that particular person in their role is able to consider and reflect on how they are doing within that job. Okay. Explain how the creator's transmission impacts the audience's interpretation. Now, this is about why did they choose indirect versus direct, and specifically the medium. Why did they pick a book? Why is picking a book important over picking a film? Right? And have they continued to move forward with that? So, if it has moved from a book to a film, to a Broadway musical, to an online streaming service, list those ways. Think about how that technology changes how you see the story, experience the narrative, the creative work, and what that transmission does for the audience in terms of giving them those layers of meaning we talked about in Module 1. And, speaking of multiple layers of meaning, let's get to number 4. What are those layers of meaning? How culturally do we look at it? Go back to that Module 1, and you're just going to go through those and think about things like, what are the layers? What is the value that they bring to this work? Okay. As always, I am so happy to answer questions, and I hope this helps you really go through and think about not just this, but really working on these skills. Think about it like going to the gym. You're working out your brain.